What's up, guys? Hello, good morning. How's everybody doing? Uh, just wanted to get on here real quick and can you guys hear me okay? Make sure everybody's sound and stuff is good. Um, Want to give a quick intro. Welcome to Lawn and Garden Month here on the Echo Means Business app and channel. This month on the EMB, we're going to be doing a series of free webinars with leading brands and industry experts. For all session info, visit echomeansbusiness.com. In this session today, we're going to be discussing lines, edges, and eternity, Permaloc. So let's get into it.
All right, thank James. I'm so thankful to be here and be a part of this. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and educate folks on the importance of lines and edges and what that means to the overall project. So I'm going to share my presentation here in a minute. Oh. And we will get started. So our presentation is just a conversation today on landscape edgings and restraint products and how they're important to sustaining the project throughout the lifetime of the project. So just a little bit of an introduction. So, design really falls into lines here, and we've got a variety of different lines here that are different sizes and thicknesses. But a line is a form with width and length, but no depth. And so, as we work through, the importance of these lines, we want to make sure that we're working to ensure that those lines remain. So, designers in the landscape create lines and edges, and they use those to outline objects. And they can be as simple as, movements by the designer's hand, whether it be with chalk or graphite, or in today's world with a stylus or a mouse. We're just outlining and putting together the lines that are going to kind of define our outdoor living spaces. So we've got Frederick Olmsted here. I always like to start out with this quote from Frederick. It really kind of speaks to the outdoor living environment and the design that we get a chance to be a part of. So Frederick Law Olmsted once said, what artist so noble is he who with far-reaching concept of beauty and designing power sketches the outline, writes the colors, and directs the shadows of a picture so great that nature shall be employed upon it for generations, before the work he has arranged for her shall write his intentions. So as we look at this, I like to look at one of Olmsted's most famous projects, and that is this is Central Park in New York. And this is an actual drawing that he had put together and sketched 150 years ago. And I like to share that all of those lines were drawn in there by Olmsted. And if you look at that today, wow, you can see that those lines, the majority of those strong, powerful lines, remain there today. All right. So, and that's the power of maintaining and keeping those edges solid, is you can see that a project can last, 15 decades or more, millennia, if maintained properly. So as we go through this, landscape architects draw two different types of lines. They draw lines that will change. So for example, here's a tree or some plant material that, in the drawing is drawn to its maturity level, but when that plant first gets put in, it's not going to be that size. And so we need to make sure that we're sketching in those edges to maintain those lines. When you start to put the shape of planting beds and that kind of stuff together, those shapes are designed with the mature plant involved, or the mature plants intention, but we're planting smaller plants at that time. And so we want to make sure that we don't change the size of the planting bed area, because eventually, if we do, that's going to look overgrown. And then there are lines that'll stay. And I'll try not to make this a commercial for Permaloc and what we do. But lines that stay are typically hard lines, lines that are out on the perimeter of patio areas, walkways, things of that nature. And what we usually say is, for lines that will stay, choose Permaloc, right? So enough with the commercial. I'll just give you a little background on who Permaloc is, so that you guys can get a feel for why I'd be involved in talking about lines and edges. And then we'll talk about different types of landscape edgings, not only the types of products that Permaloc makes, but what my competitors out in the market make, and why it's so important to have an edge restraint system and landscape edgings out there. So Permaloc was established in 1983. We're the most specified edging brand out in the marketplace. We were specified or founded actually by a landscape architect. Dan Zwier, the CEO and founder of Permaloc, is a registered landscape architect here in the state of Michigan. And we focus very intently on application-specific products. We want to make sure that those products fit the demands of each of these individual applications that are out there. And we're known as industry experts in all of these different applications and uses. So when you reach out to us, you're getting good information. So just a couple of pictures here to show you some of the great projects we've been a part of. This is the skyline in New York City. This is Letterman Digital Arts Center. We're on the south lawn of the White House. We're on the Chase Building in Manhattan. We're in Philadelphia at Independence Hall. We've been very fortunate over our tenure to be on some great projects. Boston Children's Museum, from residential all the way up to some of the largest commercial projects on the market. So why is it so important? What is sustainability in landscape, and what does it mean? It really is to be responsive to our environment, right? Making sure that we have a way to develop healthy communities long term, ways to sequester carbon and clean our air and water. We want to make sure that we're doing what we can long term to sustain not only our environment, but the areas that we enjoy outdoors. How do we accomplish that? We do that through thoughtful and intelligent design. And as we're doing that and we're putting those designs together, we have to be able to maintain those edges. And that's where landscape edgings come into play. All right. So enough with my commercial for Permaloc. Let's talk a little bit about why using landscape edging is so important. Whether you choose to use a Permaloc product or you choose one of my competitors, it's important to use landscape edgings in general. So the reasons you want to use landscape edging is it maintains or helps maintain the designer's original intent. When we look back at that picture that I showed of Frederick Olmsted's Central Park, you can see that the major elements and the design elements that he put in for that park and the living spaces that he put in for that park still remain to this day. And that's because he used strong, powerful lines, and they've been using edges to maintain those lines for the lifetime of the project. Landscape edging helps keep that clean, crisp delineation between planting bed areas or pathways and that kind of stuff, which is more pleasing to the eye. So it's aesthetics. And then it reduces cost by keeping down maintenance costs, and helps reduce the continual maintenance on the landscape. So we do a number of landscape application specific products. We do products for green rooftop applications, planting bed areas, maintenance strips, We do products for asphalt and athletic court surface. We do aggregate walkways. We do paver, traditional sandset paver applications, and we do permeable paver applications. So we do edgings that fit all of these different applications, and each one has its own set of demands. Um, we talk a little bit about each of the different applications. Landscape bed edgings are typically flat landscape edgings. Um, here's a great example of what that looks like in a cross section. And then we have maintenance strips, which is a L-shaped profile to give you that nice pin straight line where you're, walking along, and you need to maintain a pin straight line. Ideally suited for maintenance areas or those formal gardens that you may come across. There's aggregate walkways, and there's landscape edgings to be used in aggregate walkways to give you a nice, clean, crisp edge along those paths, and separate those planting bed areas from the areas you want people walking. We do paver applications, whether it be a walkway or a driveway or a patio, just making sure that you're retaining all of that, those edges on the paver applications. And then permeable, where you've got an open aggregate base underneath to allow water to run through it. We get into, here's a nice narrow driveway in Buffalo, New York, that that people are constantly driving down, and even you can see in the photo, they drive off the edge to be able to have a little space along the house to maneuver back to the backyard and that kind of thing. So, but a permeable edge restraint system will hold you that line. We do asphalt, athletic court, and the asphalt pathways. It gives you a nice, clean, crisp edge along the outside of your asphalt applications. Gives you a nice, clean, finished aesthetic. We do sport surface for applications like running tracks or tennis courts or basketball courts, just to give and maintain that edge, give it a nice aesthetic, and actually extend the lifetime of that synthetic turf, or in this case, the synthetic running track. And then we do green rooftop edge restraints. And, as we talk about green build construction and being good stewards of our environment and reducing the heat island effects in larger cities, green roofs have been growing like crazy. And every green rooftop that you'll come across, living space on a roof that you'll come across, has edges and landscape edging on it to, either it's a design element or it's to retain and hold in place some of this, the hardscape applications here, separating the planting bed areas and that kind of stuff. So lines are very, very important. Edging materials. So again, we're not going to talk all about aluminum because that's what Permaloc does, but we do want to talk about all the different edging materials that are out there and talk about the pros and cons of both. Okay. Aluminum, it's a durable and lightweight, very flexible material. But it tends to be a little bit higher on the price side. And so, it has pros and cons. Steel landscape edging, it's a very durable product line. Some of the cons can be that it's heavy and it can be difficult to work with. Sometimes, in certain markets, it can rust really quickly, depending on the level of, salt water and that kind of stuff. Anywhere it's going to rust, it comes in contact with water and that kind of thing. But it rusts, and it can be a little expensive, especially, like aluminum. Steel costs have gone up here lately. Plastic landscape edging, it's lightweight and it's, relatively inexpensive, but it's kind of a temporary fix and it can be difficult to work with. As far as wood, wood is a great natural product line that gets used in landscape applications, but long term it starts to rust, and unless you're looking for that natural woody look, aesthetically it can be a little bit bulky in the landscape. Concrete is a great is an edge restraint that gets used a lot. It's very durable, but it can be expensive, and unless you're looking for concrete curbs to be laid in your landscape, it might not have that nice, clean, crisp aesthetic that you're looking for, and it typically takes extra machinery. There's other things like natural spade cut edges that some places employ. It can be expensive to do that just with the amount of labor that goes into putting those edges in place and maintaining them long term. And those spaces in the landscape can vary and move around quite a bit. So you need to be cautious when doing just a natural cut or spade cut edge. So not all edgings are created equal. One of the things that we talk about and we want to make sure everybody is familiar with is edging manufacturers use nominal measurements. So check to make sure that you're getting products that are comparable. For example, most edgings get measured at the top bead as 1/8 or 3/16 thick, but they can vary in material thickness throughout the wall of the material. Also, make sure you're talking about the same material. In plastics, there can be different types of recipes, whether it be polyethylene or polypropylene. Make sure that you're trying, when you're comparing products, that you're comparing apples to apples. So how to choose the right product or landscape edging? It's really a combination of performance, aesthetics, availability, cost, and installation. It really, you want to make sure you get a product that's going to last the lifetime of the project and not let you down. But you also want to make sure that it fits the aesthetic that you're trying to cover here. If you're in a woody situation and you're drawing from a natural look of a cabin or a cottage, then maybe wood would be a possibility. If you're looking for a nice, clean, crisp edge, then something narrow profile like steel or aluminum would be a great way to go. Obviously, there's no point in choosing a product if it's not readily available in your area, and so check with your local distributors on what products are available, or if they have the ability to order it for you. And then cost, how much are you willing to spend? And keep in mind that there's more to a product than just the price. It's the long-term price versus cost equation. Sometimes you spend a little more money up front, but long-term, with the lower maintenance costs and that kind of stuff, you get a nice balance there. And then look for something that installs quick and easy. Obviously, as a contractor, you're only as effective as the products and the tools that you install and use. So look for something that's easy to install. Will save you time and effort on those projects, especially with with labor shortages and that kind of stuff. So the lines that you draw live on for eternity, or at least that's our hope, that the lines and the landscapes that you build are going to last into the future and help us maintain our planet and make it a wonderful place to live and to spend time. So make sure you select the right products for those applications. In this illustration, it's a small tree with some kids playing, and it has that tree, and that it just tells the story of how one planting grows through a generation of people. So your designs, they last for generations, and so it's important to maintain those lines. Secure your legacy. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the time to share with you a little bit about the importance of maintaining those lines and edges. We'll open it up for a little Q&A session here, and see if we can't answer any questions that you guys may have on landscape edgings and restraint products.
Josh, I actually got a question starting out, man, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Just for me, like I said, I'm in the South in Nashville, Tennessee, and we do a lot of natural edging, spade edging, or we'll use a bed redefiner or mechanical edge to do it. Your products, where would we be able to get those at in the South? Is that a Site One thing? Is that a landscape supply house deal, or?
Yeah, so our products are available across the country through our distribution network. We have relationship with some of the large manufacturers or large distributors out there like Site One, Ewing,
Ewing.
Heritage. And then we also work with your local independents. We have a number of family-owned independent landscape distributors and wholesalers that would be happy to help you. And a lot of them know our products and can help you get to the right product for your application. And if not, we're a toll-free number away, or a quick trip to our website away from helping you select the right product for your application.
Okay. Very good. So you guys heard that. So that's great to know. I'm a frequent at Ewing Supply and a frequent at Site One. So, everybody that's tuned in, you guys know where you can find Permaloc at and get some nice edging. One more thing, just to kind of keep the ball rolling here. Um, where would say if we're at a potential customer's house and we're wanting to upsell or suggestive sell, uh, what would be some like sales points or pitch points to give to a customer as far as uh, going the Permaloc edging route? What could we say to that? I guess it'd be the low maintenance side of it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it fits a couple of different applications. It depends on the client as well. If this is a client that you're going to be doing the maintenance for, then you're looking at just long term aesthetics. It gives it a nice, clean, crisp edge, and it's going to last the lifetime of the project, and it's going to maintain that edge. When we talk about mature plants, right? A landscape architect or a designer draws in the mature plants, and we set that edge, and you'll plant those individual plugs in there, or the smaller, 1 gallon plants that's going to mature. Sometimes that visually doesn't look quite right with the landscape bed where it is.
Yeah.
And so the tendency is to let the grass kind of creep in and get it to look nice. But then we always forget to take it back out again, and that's when you get those landscapes that start to look like they're a little overgrown and that kind of stuff. And so it's nice to have that permanent edge set, and then the customer knows that when the plants mature, it's going to fill in and it's going to look nice and it's not going to look overgrown. So it really comes down to aesthetics and finish. If they're doing the maintenance, it makes maintenance really easy also. And that is something that, when we talk to contractors who are doing the maintenance themselves, it eliminates you guys having to spend the time to do all that spade cut edge. It allows you to just mow and then run the weed trim along the edging and get on and off that job, quick and easy. And it makes it more profitable for you.
Okay. All right, so very good. So that's funny you said that, man. Talking about the shrubs like overgrowing and that type of deal. My church, actually, we did some maintenance there, and they had really nice metal edging put in, and it may have been like I would say probably the mid '80s, maybe early '90s, and a lot of overgrown hollies and bigger yew shrubs. And I had suggested, kind of formally trimming stuff just to kind of get it a little smaller, just so you can actually see the edge again. And they're like, well, we kind of like the look of them. It's easier to, and I was like, trust me, it will look so good. And so we ended up taking out some bushes, trimming up some bushes just to kind of create some symmetry and actually see that natural edge again, where the landscape edging was. And I mean, we had so many compliments. Wow, the front of the church looks so good. We appreciate that. And so just aesthetics, just looking at it from the street and pulling up on Sunday morning. So I can definitely, that's why I wanted to join into this one. I know the potential is there, and I've actually had it with customers. So, uh, it's definitely important, man. That's one of the biggest things I notice when I do landscaping is first thing has got to have a nice edge. It's got to have a crisp edge, whether that be mechanical, spade shovel, or
Yep.
steel, concrete curbing, whatever you want to do. It needs to have a nice edge. So very
Yeah.
cool.
That really is. I mean, everybody notices when the edge is a little soft, right? And it's not clean and crisp. And that's really, I mean, that's where Permaloc has made the majority of its career has been on providing that nice, clean, crisp edge. Your eye naturally picks up on those soft edges, and we want that nice definition. And regardless of what product you pick, whether it's a landscape edging or you're doing that work mechanically and cleaning that up, the edges are the important piece that help give that visual aesthetic. So
one of my favorite things to do with a customer, if we're and if you guys don't know this, some of y'all may know it. Me and my buddies joke about it all the time that have bigger companies. We always get together and talk shop and that type of thing. But for a customer that can't see the edging or can't see what you're trying to do, I like to take a garden hose and lay it out in the yard if there's no edge there, and trying to give them an idea of what it's going to look like before you come up with something on paper, before you get a landscape architect involved, just to give them something and go, this is what it'll shape out to be. Kind of give them some ideas on bushes and stuff. So that's a tip if you guys don't do that. Obviously you can do a measure, do a wheel and do spray paint and all that kind of stuff, but just laying it something that's in the customer's yard, that kind of gives them an idea what it's going to look like, nice and sharp, crisp line. So, it was a trick I learned a long time ago, and still use it today.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got a few contractors in our local area here, and I know one that he carries a small diameter thing of rope that he'll just as he's starting to talk with the customer, he'll lay that out in the landscape just to kind of give them, because sometimes the customer is not as visual as we are, and so once they start to see things take shape with just some outlining of lines, it makes a big difference.
That's it. Couple more things. Where can we find you guys out on social media this day and age, man? We're big on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Google. Where can we find you guys at?
So you can find us. You can find Permaloc. Obviously on the web at permaloc.com. You can find us at Permaloc Edging on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. We do have a Flickr account, so you can go to our Flickr page and see a bunch of great videos photos of projects and that kind of thing. And then you can catch up with us on LinkedIn and start to connect with us, on LinkedIn.
All right, so you guys heard it. Y'all be sure to follow him, follow Permaloc, and if you got any questions, they have a 1-800 number. You can directly reach out to them, or shoot them an email online. Josh, thank you so much for joining today, man. We're gonna wrap it up. We got one more session, so you guys stay tuned. We got Crescent Garden, and also do not forget to follow EMB on IG and Facebook, and visit echomeansbusiness.com for all the sessions. And we'll see you in the next one. Josh, thank you so much for your time.
You bet, James. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love being here. Thank you.
All right. Very good.
Okay, sounds like we're on. Scott, let's see, can you hear me? You look a little frozen there. So until we can hear you, I'm just going to go with it. I'm Barbara Wise. I'm with Crescent Garden, and we're going to be talking today about getting wise with water. And one of the things, there you are. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Barbara. How are you guys? Welcome, everybody, to Echo Means Business. We're doing a home lawn and garden month thing special, and we're going to talk to you about water wise, correct, Barbara?
We are talking about being water wise, yes. And
all right, I'm out in the field. I see you're in your office. So let me ask you, what kind of company are you? And talk to me a little bit about your company.
Okay. We are a company that manufactures planters and some other gardening products, but we're known for our planters. And I came to Crescent Garden as a landscaper. So I had, I was out in the field doing, what so many of the people who are watching us doing, and ended up with a niche in container gardening, and discovered Crescent, and that's how I ended up joining with them. So I love their products. Great company, lightweight, decorative. So, and we have a self-watering option, which is, part of why I wanted to talk about this, with being water wise. So one of the things that I wanted to ask the people that are listening is, do they do container gardening? And if they don't, I'm thinking a lot of times one of the holdups for people doing container gardening is that they are worried about having to get the manpower to water, or maybe don't even know how to get started. So that's kind of a long answer to your question. So
No, I understand. We do container gardens. I'm actually at one of our sites right now that we actually change out the container plants throughout the year, 3 times a year. So, water is a big issue when it comes to watering. I know we use a drip irrigation system that is actually attached to the main irrigation system, but what are the best types that do you know of that, I mean, you were talking about, it is hard to have manpower to water these things. So what do you guys offer, or is there a easy way to keep the water up on this type of stuff? How do you approach that?
So, adding irrigation is a really good option, but unfortunately that's not always an option, because you're putting, especially if you're doing streetscapes or you're doing commercial areas, you're having to worry about, where do I have to get a water truck? Is there, a lot of these commercial places have the little keys that you have to use to attach the hoses. So we came up with a self-watering option that's called our True Drop planter. Okay. But if you don't mind, let me just kind of back up a little bit about, why people would even want to do container gardens, because I feel like it's a missed opportunity. And, and just a little of my history was, I was hired by a large construction company, a large development company, who was developing these neighborhoods, and they wanted to be known. They wanted to be distinctive in their horticulture. They wanted people to come to their communities because they did beautiful work, but also because their horticulture was distinctive. And they did a great job. I mean, they had beautiful, beautiful plants. They had great people who were maintaining it. But the thing that took them to the next level, where people were actually coming to their communities and driving around the communities, was when we started doing containers. And one of the biggest issues that we were dealing with, and as I learned from the get-go, was, how do I keep these things watered? Because, when it comes down to making a profit, if you're using up your man hours and watering, that eats into your profitability. So to make containers profitable, one, you need to use the right kind of plants. And so, I'd love for you to talk about the kind of plants that you use, because you obviously do this a lot.
Yeah, we use all kinds of stuff. We change out between these. We have a winter brand, and right now, what we call it, and it's pretty much, we put in arborvitaes and we put in spruces and stuff like that right now, and then we kind of change up to our springtime here in probably another month, where we put in all kinds of flowers and a little bit of pizzazz into it to kind of keep the color throughout the summer. And then we change around October, and we put in some little pumpkins and some more oranges, flowers and grasses, just to kind of give it that fall feel to everything. So that's what we kind of do. Scott,
where are you?
We are in Ohio. So
okay.
we do a lot of stuff right in Northwest Ohio. So we do, like I said, we're at one right now that we're cleaning it all out and kind of getting it ready. So for the springtime stuff. So it's a good income for anybody that kind of wants to add stuff. We got into it because one of our customers wanted something on their deck a pot with some plants in it, and they knew that we were good at, planting all their landscaping. So they wanted something in there that, gave them color instead of just sitting around. So,
well, yeah. So having the right kind of plants, so like you were saying, arborvitaes in the summertime, using things instead, everybody loves petunias. I mean, it's kind of hard not to love a petunia, but they're going to be more thirsty. You're going to have to keep them watered a little bit more. So using things using some of your more tropical plants like a mandevilla, dipladenia. A lot of people love ferns and are not even aware that the Kimberly queen fern is a fabulous fern to use, and you can use that in full sun. You don't have to. I mean, it can go a long time without being watered. So using the the right kind of plants. The other thing to help it with watering issues is using a double wall planter. You've got that air cushion, and it will protect it from the heat. If you've ever gone up and touched a planter in the middle of the summertime that's been out in full sun, you can almost burn your hand, especially if it's a dark color. So, so having a double wall in your, in a planter, and again, using a self-watering planter, something that has a reservoir in the bottom of it, is a great way to, to just keep it watered without having to come back every day. So one of the things that, when you're thinking about, okay, so how does this work? Keeping planters watered. If you've got something that's self-watering, or if you've got irrigation, one of the things we had we could have our crew people, instead of thinking, okay, I've got to send somebody out, have my own little watering crew. If you've got crews that are going to different properties once a week to mow, if they can go and check if you've got irrigation added onto it, get them to check the irrigation, make sure it's working, because that's probably one of the, you get some little bits of dirt in there that'll clog them up, or, a squirrel chewed on it, or something, who knows, or some kid pulled it out, all those kind of things. So, just that's part of what they do when they go and mow. If you've got a self-watering option, like our true drop planters, and I'll show you a couple of pictures in a few minutes, but, of the true drop planters, but it has a little indicator button on it, that can tell you when you need to add water. And so you can go for at least a week. I mean, we have people telling us they go, we've had people talk about going 2 or 3 weeks, but in the middle of the summer, you can at least go a week. And another thing and this is where it's really important to, people say, oh, I want a planter. They see this cute little planter. This looks great. Go with the big stuff. The bigger the planter, the more soil. And then, people ask about, well, do I have to fill the whole thing up with soil? And when I first started doing this, I did experiments where we went halfway in, or, quarter of the way in, and just put, stuff on the bottom and then put soil on top of it. And then we put soil all the way through, or filled up another container with all the way through. I'm not even saying that right. You know what I'm saying? I filled it all the way up with soil, with, potting soil. And that's I'll throw that in too. Make sure you use a good quality potting soil. Right. But the ones that were filled with soil completely could go at least 2 or 3 days longer. The bigger planters could go 2 or 3 days longer, because as the plant roots grow down, it dries from the top up. So in a big old planter, you're going to, it's going to take several days for the bottom, if they've been watered well, it's going to take several days before that bottom part dries out. So, when you're in the middle of the summer, make sure that, if you don't have that self-watering planter, make sure that whoever waters it well, deeply, so that all the soil absorbs the water. and then make sure it's planted make sure that the soil goes all the way to the bottom so that it's, those roots can take advantage of that water that's at the bottom. So.
Correct. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, watering it thoroughly. I noticed that a lot of the planters that we use that we fill all the way with dirt definitely last longer without in between waterings. So that it definitely filling it up the right way. We use organic topsoil, so we want to make sure that it's filled in real good. And then we kind of refresh it every spring when we actually add in new plants in our springtime planting. So we kind of add in a little bit more fertilizer and stuff to kind of help everything grow throughout the season better that way too. So yeah, that's definitely. Now, so you said you have these self-watering planters, okay, at your place. Tell me, like, you said something like there's an indicator button on them and stuff. So how does that totally work?
Well, if I can get our people who are helping us pull up our little video, I've got a little video, and it's just about, we'll just look at the first minute of it. Let's see, can y'all do that? Let's see. There we go. Okay. So there's the indicator button right here. And
everyone wants beautiful, thriving plants, but keeping up with them can be difficult and time consuming. That's why we created a container that keeps your plants watered for weeks at a time. Introducing the True Drop Self-Watering Planter, a foolproof way to grow stronger, healthier plants by giving them exactly what they need when they need it. The True Drop self-watering system uses the same irrigation process as professional greenhouses to keep your plants well hydrated and nourished. The reservoir built into the double wall container waters your plants from the roots up, allowing them to take in just the amount of water they need to thrive. The results are bigger, healthier plants with beautiful, lush flowers and leaves.
Okay, yeah, you can turn it off now. That was the main thing I wanted you to see, the indicator. Thanks for getting that on for us.
Thank you.
So that's what I mean. It's got a little indicator button, and and in just so, because I'm talking to a lot of people out there, I love our products, but there are, you've got, you do have other things that, other products that'll have like a little thing that pops up that'll tell you when it needs to be watered. Those are helpful. But what I like about ours is it doesn't pop up out of there, so it doesn't get broken off. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I like that, the whole system. I mean, double walled would probably save a lot, especially at some of our bigger properties. Like you said, on, like where the cities have, just, planters out in the middle of a, streetway. That definitely helps out in a long way, having to go, instead of having to have a crew member go water daily or every other day, to have it to be able to have water in it for a week at a time is going to help out a long run. And that saves man hours. It saves, water in the long way too, some ways. Mm-hmm. So, what about, I know a lot of people are going, Jar Landscaping had asked about like planter gardens. People are starting to do that too. So is that, do we want to keep watering it just as much as like a flowering plant? Do you think?
Okay, so I'm not sure I know what the question is. So you're saying,
like, I've seen a lot of people wanting to do vegetable gardens and planters instead of like flowers. Yes. So, would you want to keep it watered just as much?
It depends on what you're growing, what vegetables you're growing. A lot of your vegetables and herbs and things like that like to be on the drier side. In fact, it's kind of hard to think of anything that really likes to stay more on the moist side. So that is a good option. And when I was doing landscaping, that actually became a very popular thing in commercial properties, like restaurants would want to have, even if they didn't use it with their cooking. It was kind of a nice presentation to have containers out there with different herbs and things in it. There's an organization or a group of people called Digging In, and they are a group of professional container gardening. All they do is container gardening, And one of the things that they're finding is that a lot of homeowners love having somebody come in and plant up a vegetable garden for them, in their planters, and give them, just kind of help them know how to, a lot of the homeowner will end up taking care of the planter, but that's kind of a missed business opportunity to be able to come in and, plant up a bunch of vegetables or herbs and things for people. Everybody loves the beautiful ones, but that practical one, especially during COVID, went, growing your own herbs and vegetables is great. Again, that was a very long answer to your question, but that is a great way to not have to water as much as by, growing edibles in there.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I see that a lot. Like you said, when COVID kind of hit, we had a lot of people that wanted to grow their own vegetables. So they contacted us because in our area, it was kind of hard to find vegetable plants. So we were gladly to provide them with plants and make beds for them. We did a lot of raised garden beds, so that helped out, and a lot of people enjoy it. So, I mean, growing your own is definitely a good thing. Even if you do it in a pot or in a container, anywhere, somewhere that you can do it. So, thank you for the answer on that one. So you have all kinds of different planters at your place, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And most of them are all self-watering, or do you guys sell just regular planters at Crescent Garden?
We sell regular planters. In fact, in your area, we've got quite a few of our regular planters at the like the Cleveland Botanical Garden, a lot of the streetscapes around there. So, using like and ours are plastic. They're a rotomold product, so they're very durable. They've got like a 10-year warranty on them against fading and cracking. So you can leave them out year round. But for doing like the vegetable gardens and things like that, that if it's not a self-watering planter, having a double wall is going to be a really helpful thing, because your vegetables, you're going to be growing those in the middle of the summer, and you really want to protect those roots from from drying out. So, that's just another good option, for doing the vegetable gardens.
Okay. So if anybody wanted to buy your stuff, where could somebody go to find your guys' planters?
Well, we sell to garden centers around town. We've got a website, but we also sell directly to landscapers. So they can contact us and say, and the nice thing about selling to the landscape director directly is that you're not going to have a minimum that you have to order. It's going to have the freight included in there. So, you can just, if you go to our website, it'll say there's a place where you can go in and you can ask for, to be sent a catalog or to have somebody contact you. So thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being on. One last question. I don't know if there's any other questions out there. If anybody has any questions, definitely post it right now, and we'll try to get it up or ask you, or we can come back and ask you at another time. One last question. So watering, you're saying your double wall planters are the best, correct? Or
of course.
Yeah. Okay. So that's. I mean, definitely, I want to know this, so that way when when I'm selling, definitely I can definitely sell your product and let everybody know that double walls are going to be better than just the regular planter that I get at Home Depot. So I wanted to make sure that that's the best way we can go. So yeah. Thank you on that. What is how would you say is the easiest way to? Would you leave the planters out throughout the year, or would you want to bring them in? I mean, is there a way to empty that water out if there's water left in that?
There is there's a plug at the bottom. It also, our planters also have an overflow valve, so that, if they're left out in the rain, it'll have the opportunity to go through the overflow valve. But in your area, in areas where you freeze, it has a plug, so you want to drain it. That's kind of one of those things that, people are starting to want to have planters year round. Now, you mentioned that you do like an arborvitae. Do you do like cut greenery or anything like that?
Yeah. During the winter, we cut spruces and pines, and then we kind of cut up some leftover perennials and kind of post them in there, so that way it gives it some darker colors too. So that way we only plant like smaller arborvitaes. We get to pretty much they're only like a foot tall, just to kind of give us some height, and then we kind of do cut up greenery to put around it to kind of give it some more fill in. So because we want our planters to fill totally full. I mean,
yeah,
even in the spring, we go ahead and we fill them through. I mean, we know that stuff does die, stuff does change, and but we want it to, by the middle of the summer, to be so full that it's overflowing, that that customer is going to be totally excited that they went with us. And we don't want just 1-2 little plants in it. Some of our customers will call us and say, oh, we want a pot, and they'll go to a garden center and it's like $40, and they'll call to me and I'll come out and I'll be like, well, with your pot, everything else, you're looking at $100 a pot. And they're like, well, why? And I'll say, well, take a look at my pictures. You'll see from here to here, it's going to be 10 times as fuller than what you're buying at a plant center. So a lot of times the customers will go with us and notice that we have that to make it look good throughout the year. So, and we come out and we definitely come back out every couple of weeks and check on everything just to make sure that everything's growing good and continuously growing. So that's one thing that we provide all our customers.
Yeah, that's awesome. I noticed there's a question down here about we've heard of people adding rocks to the bottom of planting containers to improve drainage. That was actually something that people did before good quality potting soil was created. Years ago when people would put just regular garden dirt in their planters, that was so heavy they needed something at the bottom of it. But using a good quality potting soil makes all the difference. And that's where I was talking about, where if you can plant all the way down to the bottom, not plant all the way down to the bottom, fill the planter with soil all the way, the whole way, then your roots are going to have that opportunity to go all the way to the bottom, where the reservoir of, not the reservoir, but where, water is still at the bottom. Also, having a saucer, if you don't have a self-watering planter, if you add a saucer to your planter that's got like an inch or an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches lip on it, having that little bit of extra water in that saucer, like after they've watered and it's collected some water at the bottom, as the roots go down, obviously they're going to draw water from your potting soil, but having that little bit will keep wicking up so that soil still stays a little bit damp. So that's another little thing that you can actually get a couple of days longer between waterings by just having a saucer underneath your planter. So.
Nice. Thank you for all that tip. As far as I know, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I think just with, the whole issue of watering, having, to make it profitable, to make containers gardening, that add-on profitable with the watering issue, the three things that, and I mentioned this, but I just kind of want to make it real careful, is using good quality potting soil, using, having that double wall to protect the roots from not only from heat, but also in the wintertime, to protect the roots during the wintertime. That's not a watering issue, but just a protection issue. And then just, having your water source, either having a good water source close by, or having a self-watering planter. Those are the things that are going to make it profitable, because if you're having to invest in, a watering, watering truck, or you're having to, add irrigation, which can be expensive or sometimes impossible, then, that takes out that profitability of that planter for that company.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for being on, Barbara. If you guys need anything, hit Crescent Garden up and they can send you some information on their planters. I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of places that sell their planters, I'm assuming, throughout the United States, correct?
Oh yes, definitely. And I was going to, let's see, how much time do we have left? If we've got a second left, I was going to show a couple of pictures. Can you bring up the PDF? And again, these are our planters, but it just shows you the difference that adding a few planters and it's a great add-on. It's a great, it's a great way to distinguish yourself. It's kind of like, so if you go down to, let's start at slide number 34. One of the ways that I encourage when I talk to people in the industry, I say, you can make a beautiful landscape, and you're maybe known for making a beautiful landscape. But the things that's going to set you apart are going to be these, it's going to be your annual flowers. It's going to be your containers. And it's your accessories. So what I remind people is you have to learn to accessorize, for a lot of people that's not in their mindset, but these are your accessories that just, set you apart from anybody else. So we'll just click through these real quickly, go into the 35. You can just see the difference of just adding, adding a few planters. 36, just click through these real fast. And, just see the difference that it makes just having some planters in there. So,
the one thing I like about adding planters is it adds depth to like a patio or a deck.
Yeah.
Anywhere where it's a lot of blank space and you don't have, but maybe, 5 chairs on a deck. If you add just that planter to it with, some flowers throughout the summer, it's going to add that depth to that patio. And like you said, accessorize everything, just like you do in your own house. You're going to, add things to your house to accessorize. And if you do that to your patio or your deck, it's just going to make it 10 times better for, when you're having those parties or having people over that, you just want to have a family cookout or something. So,
yeah. And it sets your company apart. It's such, people go, okay, man, they do a great job with all these other things, but there are a lot of people who do a good job, but these folks come in and they can, they make my place pop. So, So, thank y'all for having us or having me and, having Crescent Garden on here. And I'm excited to be a part of this. Y'all do a great job with, EMB does a great job with just getting good information out. Thankful to be a part.
Thank you for having us on. Thanking you, Barbara, for having on. Thank Crescent Garden, everybody. Like I said, if you need anything, find Crescent Garden online. And if not, they'll help you out with whatever they can. Plus, then follow us next. We'll be back on Thursday with Vectorworks at noon, and we'll talk about sustainable landscapes, advantages of design technology. So, see you guys all back on Thursday at noon for Lawn and Garden Month here at Echo Means Business. Follow us on IG and Facebook. Even go to echomeansbusiness.com, sign up, register, follow all the good stuff that's going on this month. There's all kinds of good stuff going on. Plenty of great talks. Like Barbara here, this was a great talk with you, Barbara. Thank you again for being on.
Thank you.
And we will all see you guys on Thursday. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you.